Hello and welcome back to my video blog. I've got the honor to bring to you today local, born and raised San Luis Obispo local, Ed Atala, who's a local attorney here. And Ed, what kind of law do you specialize in?
I specialize in estate planning, real estate, and business matters.
Okay, great. And you didn't learn that at what elementary school here?
No, I didn't learn to teach or since
Okay, at those schools. You didn't learn it. Okay, so you went to law school. I knew that.
I did. I had to.
Good. So the reason I brought Ed in is we've had a lot of transactions lately where people got stuck. They incurred a lot of costs. They've had some issues with title and ownership and how they handle the estate. And Ed brings a vast amount of experience on how to avoid probate and the trust process. First of all, Ed, describe a trust or describe probate. Tell me why someone would go ahead and set up a trust or why they'd want to even avoid a probate situation and what that is.
The main purpose to set up a trust is to avoid probate. Probate is the process of transferring assets from a deceased person to their heirs when there's a will or nothing at all.
Okay.
And probate is extremely costly in California. It's time consuming and public.
Okay, got it. So I think a lot of my clients sometimes get intimidated by the fact of setting up a trust. So first of all, like if somebody just came in, owns a house, has a few dollars in the bank or whatever, would they want to set up a trust, and about how much would it cost?
Well, the typical San Luis Obispo resident who owns property in San Luis Obispo generally needs a trust.
Okay.
To avoid probate, if you have over $150,000 in assets, you generally need a trust. Okay. Now, when you calculate $150,000 in assets, if it's just cash or liquid accounts, that's easy to calculate when you pass.
Sure.
Okay, and the value is calculated on the day you die.
Yes.
If you own real estate, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that the $150,000 is just the equity that you have in your home. Right. That's not the way the California law values your estate when you die. It gets valued on your the gross fair market value of your estate.
Okay.
So if your house is you purchased for $500,000 and put $100,000 down, you would think that you would just get the fair market value of $100,000 in equity. It's not. It's the $500,000 if that's the value on the day you die.
Okay, so just about anybody who owns property in San Luis Obispo should have a trust set up.
Correct, as long as it's real property and not a mobile home.
And if they came and wanted to get one set up, basic trust costs to do so?
Depending on the sophistication of your estate and the circumstances of your family or your assets, I would say generally speaking, trust costs anywhere between $2,000 and $3,500, somewhere in that range.
For just basic? Yeah.
Basic. It can change based on the complexities or circumstances.
Obviously, yeah, I'm putting you on the spot with that. And then if somebody were to pass away and have that unfortunate circumstance, if it has to go to probate, what are the costs involved with that? Is, when you're trying to compare whether or not to do this?
Right. Probate's very expensive. Probate fees are determined by statute in California. Okay. So if, for example, you pass and you have a $500,000 estate, which is not unlikely here in California or in San Luis Obispo, if you own real estate, the probate fees, the statutory fee for the executor in probate would be about $13,000. Okay. The executor is going to hire an attorney. The attorney is going to also make a statutory fee of $13,000. So just the statutory fee is going to be $26,000.
Okay.
Now, if there's something extraordinary that happens, if you own a business and the business has to be sold or dissolved after you pass, or if there's a piece of real estate you own and the neighbor comes across the street and says, hey, would like to buy that during the probate process, that's extraordinary fees. You're going to pay the attorney and the executor for their time to deal with those extraordinary circumstances that are not just general probate. So it can be very expensive. It pales in comparison to the cost of a trust.
Obviously. And then the one that always comes up, obviously, is the tax savings. Somebody buys a house for $300, and upon their demise, it's worth more, say $500. Isn't there a stepped-up basis or something when you have a trust? Explain how that works tax-wise, or is that applicable?
Those circumstances you really should take to your CPA.
Okay.
I try not to give too much tax advice because every circumstance is different.
You're a good attorney. Good. That answers a lot of questions. Good. Well, Ed has been in town since the day he was born, I guess, so he's a local attorney here. Ed, if somebody has estate or real estate, business law questions, how do they get a hold of you?
You can contact my office at 805-543-1212. I have staff that answers my phone, fortunately for me, and I'm happy to set up an appointment and meet with anyone that's willing to discuss real estate, business, or estate planning matters.
I know you're always a great resource for us, but thanks for showing up. Thanks for spending your time.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
All right. Have a great day. We'll look forward to talking to you. And if you have any questions, obviously, about real estate, our number is 781-3750. Thanks again for watching.